Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk, back again with another fancy fold project for you, and this time it's actually to share some swaps I made recently when I met up with hundreds of other demonstrators, and it's these lovely little double slider cards, but on the back I've made an extra little pocket that you can see holds a gift card. Well, this one isn't, it's a reward card, but it's exactly the same size. So obviously you can write on the back there, but I have left space here for you to pop your sentiment. And I've done two versions. My original version used the ribbon, but I decided afterwards, actually, do you know what? I think that I should have used the tag punch instead. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate to you today. I'm going to use the same colours, so I'm using Bermuda Bay ink and card to get that coordination, along with just a little bit of tempting turquoise to finish it. And the great thing about these is you can actually make three of these, the basic card holders, double sliders from a sheet of A4, and then use your scraps for obviously the tab and for the pocket on the back. So I'm using UK A4 cardstock, which is 8 1/4 inches wide, as you can see here. That's a full width, and I'm just going to cut it at 3 3/4, like so. And then I'm going to score at 2 1/2, 5 1/8, and 7 3/4, like so. I've then cut a piece of ordinary Whisper White cardstock, which is 2 3/8 by 3 1/2, and then I want two pieces of thick Whisper White, which are cut, not scored, at 2 3/8 by 3 1/2. So you need three pieces, 2 3/8 by 3 1/2. I find it works better with the thick cardstock, but if you haven't got it, you know, it will work with the ordinary cardstock. It's just make sure you don't make it too tight. So these are our pieces that we're going to do our stamping on for the inside, and this is our piece for the front. And I find that to differentiate between those, the first thing I do is actually corner round my two thicker pieces on one end. So both corners on one end. And you don't have to do that, but I just think it makes a neater finish. So that's ready for us to do our stamping. So here I've got my Bermuda Bay ink, and I'm going to just bring in just a scrap of Whisper White cardstock, which I shall use for my little circle for the front there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up my bottle and stamp that diagonally. And I should have used my stamping pierce mat. I've got away with that. I'll use it for my other pieces. I'm going to use my sentiment, and this is always useful to think, don't always think you've got to have the full width of something. You can pop a sentiment on diagonally, like so, and then pop some bubbles on the front here. I used the Bermuda Bay on the front, and then actually what I did, let's give those a quick clean. I used tempting turquoise on the inside, just to add a little bit of a difference, like so. And I'm just going to put those slightly more vertical so that they're not quite so covered up by the tab when I do that. So while we're talking about the tab, this is our tab punch, and you can see you just come in and punch the shape out, and then all you need to do is just fold that in half. And I find wet glue works really well on this, so just put some on the inside of that and then fold it and line it up on the middle there. Okay, and that can just pop to one side. As you can see, I've stamped it better there, so we haven't got any overlap. Next thing I'm going to do is just stamp some bubbles on the bottom section here. Hopefully you can see. Perhaps I didn't have my camera quite as well centered as I wanted it. and then pop that to one side, and I'm going to come in with my Yay sentiment again. So this is using the Bubble Over, I didn't tell you which stamp set we're using, Bubble Over stamp set, which has got these great bottles, bubbles, and some lovely little sentiments on the front there. And it also comes, you can also get some coordinating dies, which are fabulous. I didn't use these, but they are the tiny little, cut them out of silver foil, and you've got tiny little bottle tops to go on the top of your bottles. If I feel up to it, I might end up cutting another 40 of those out. It depends how I'm feeling. If I'm bored one evening, I might do that. So once you've stamped all of those, I'm going to use my 3/4 inch punch just to punch that out, like so, and that'll go with that. And these can go to one side as we've finished our stamping. So now we're going to come in and use and create our card base. So once you've scored it, what you need to do is really reinforce those score lines and come in with some snips and snip those corners off at a good angle, so quite a sharp angle there. The next thing you're going to do is punch this end. So this is the opposite end to where the short panel is, and I'm coming in with a label punch and just cutting out a notch. Now you could use any straight edged punch to do this. If you've got an old 1-inch punch, that would do it, or any of our shorter label punches would work as well. It's anything that'll give you a nice straight edge on the end here. Obviously you could do it just with scissors if you wanted to. I just find it much easier with a punch. Then you need a 7-inch by about 1.25 inch piece of plastic pocket. So these are the ordinary, like multi-punch pockets like I've got here, and I just cut a strip from the top. Put it down, you possibly can't see it, but I've got my strip there, and just come in with a piece of the sticky red tape, and putting that on the one end, hopefully lifting that up. It might be a piercing tool required, and you're wrapping it round. Just make not too tight, so it should be enough to move reasonably freely. I've possibly made that a little bit tight, so I'm just going to unstick that, and there we go, just make it loose so you can see there, it's just moving more freely. And with it face down, with this narrow bit on the left and the join at the top, pop your top on with your tab face down on the middle section. You're going to need some more red tape, and just cut a piece off there and pop it on the bottom. Take the backing off and make sure that's nice and square and it's level with the top edge here. Fold that over. Then face down with your sentiment again, lining it up with the bottom section, or at least you will in a moment. So pop your red tape, when you folded it over, red tape to the top, and line this up with the bottom in the middle. So you should have just a narrow gap either side, and put that in like so. And then you're going to put some red tape on the edge here. I'm using a slightly narrower one, but as long as it's not wider than your, just be careful not to go over it or make it wider than your flap. Take the backing off, fold it up, and this tab here is going to just wrap around the edge and glue against that edge there. Just fold and burnish it really well, and then you've got your double slider. So all we need to do now is pop our card on the front. I'm just using a little bit of wet glue because that's happened to be what was to hand. There we go. Obviously, if you wanted to do a bit more, you could add this with a you could die cut the bottle to make it a little bit more special. You could obviously add layers to this as well. I'm just keeping it quite nice and simple this occasion. Turn it over and we're now going to add our pocket to the back. And for our pocket we need a piece of card that is 3.5 by 3.5 inches. And I'm going to simply score that on 3 sides at 1/2 inch. And what I'm going to do is use the same label punch. This is again an optional step for you, just to take a little bit out of the non-scored end. Fold all those score lines and cut the corners off diagonally, like so. You end up with a piece like that. Then again, just come in with some trusty red tape when you find the end and pop that on all 3 sides with the tabs. And this just turns a gift card into just a slightly more interesting envelope than the ones that that you get in the shops with them. Okay. So on the reverse here, just line up that bottom section and fold those side pieces in, like so. And there you have a double slider gift card holder ready to go. I hope you've enjoyed watching this and you'll make one yourself. If you'd like any of the products that I've mentioned today, please visit my Stampin' Up store, heidismith.stampinup.net, and visit my blog for more inspiration. Thank you for watching. Goodbye now.